The first one will be, who knows what cloud computing is? This is for the beginners, just people who have an idea. You don't want to come away any pro. You already know this. Please just be a listener. Where's Kiza too? So I want a person to just, you can write in the chat or turn on your mic and tell me in your idea what cloud computing is. Okay. As you continue to answer that, yeah, I wanted to touch on our group. We have our group leaders. We have the core team. They are here, I hope. I can see some here. We have a group of leaders who will be helping us throughout. If you have any issues, you can reach out to them. I'll be giving them a chance to talk later. But I wanted to start on what AWS Builder groups are, simply why we are here, what we'll be doing. Well, basically, AWS is a cloud computing platform, right? So these groups, these are community groups where students learn cloud computing together. We build projects, we develop technical and leadership skills, and also we prepare for certifications, AWS certifications later. This is where we connect with each other. That's why I told you about cloud computing. AWS is a cloud computing platform, as I have said. So these groups will be focusing majorly on cloud computing and how we can use it in our daily lives, how it can help us to make our work easier as tech enthusiasts or developers. That's why I asked, what is cloud computing? I have some. Let me say this. Someone has said cloud computing is the delivery of computing services, including server storage, databases, networking software, and analytics over the internet. That's pretty right. Yeah, that's cloud computing, basically. It's like, let me give you an example. In the past, many people used to generate their own electricity, like you would have your own generator or your own ways to generate electricity. But now, you get electricity by just connecting to the national power grid. You just pay what you use, like we have Kenya Power. So that's why we have AWS. So AWS is like the Kenya Power, which will provide all the services your work is to use. You just plug in and pay for what you use. Yeah. So the purpose of this group, as I told you, we'll introduce you to cloud computing for those who don't know. For those who know, we'll continue learning. Hey, you have something to say? You have something to say? Okay. Number 2, we will help students gain hands-on AWS experience. Most of what we'll be doing will be hands-on. So if you can get a laptop, with all we'll be doing our events, we want to do practical things that you will learn while doing them. We will also be organizing workshops, boot camps, hackathons, which will come later. And also we want to build a very strong tech community where we can help each other out whenever we have our own issues. Yeah. So that was my introduction. Now I want to introduce the core team before I bring on our guest, Crispinas, to start our event. I know I have inconvenienced you today because reschedule the event, but I hope you'll bear with me, and we are very sorry for that. So, our core team, I decided to go with a 3-member core team. I have Brian Kirui, who will be in charge of events and operation. Brian, I'll go around. Brian. Okay, and come on, Yuko, let's go with the bet. We'll be in charge of content and media. Bet nilimwona around. Okay, it seems no one is around, so we'll start. Crispinas, we can start now. I think we have enough people to begin. The others will meet us on the way.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, I think we can hear you.
Awesome. So let me know where you are joining us from the chat. You can just type the name of the place. Oh, I can see someone from Nairobi. That's awesome. Nairobi. Oh, even Johannesburg. Awesome. Kiambu. I can't see Mombasa. Oh, Mombasa is there. Awesome. I can see Michelle, Sheila from Nyeri. Awesome. So let me share my screen. How do I share? Can you guys confirm if you can see my screen?
Yeah, we can see it.
Awesome. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Crispinos Jacob. I'm the former Student Builder Group. Student Builder Group stands for Student Builder Group is the SBGL, which was formerly known as AWS Cloud Clubs. So I was the former SBGL for TOOM. I'm also a tech community builder. Mostly you will meet me in tech communities. I'm also a cloud support engineer. Yeah. So today we shall be talking about the cloud foundation on how you can get started into AWS. First of all, let me know how experienced are you with AWS or in tech in general. You can just type in the chat like beginner, like I'm a pro, something like that, intermediate. Oh, I can see beginner. Okay. Can see I have CLF, but I haven't practiced in 2 years. Awesome. Beginner, intermediate. Awesome. I can see most of the people are between beginner and intermediate. So because of that, I will not dive deep. We shall not go into deep of the AWS. So let me. So first of all, uh, uh, the session was supposed to start at 7:30, but due to inconveniences, we couldn't make it. That's why we had to reschedule until now. Si mnaelewa hiyo mambo ya Kenya Power. So I also hold two AWS certification, that is Cloud Practitioner and Solutions Architect Associate. So we shall be talking about AWS community. Then we shall go into AWS fundamental, then practices, then we shall close this. So this session will not be diving deep into AWS. So if you are new to AWS, you haven't interacted with AWS, this is you'll get some foundation to get you started. So I believe Beltin has talked about AWS SBGL. AWS SBGL or AWS Student Group is part of the AWS global community. AWS community has various programs. This includes the AWS Student Builder Group, which was formerly known as the AWS Cloud Clubs. Then we have AWS Community Builders. This is also another program. Then we have the AWS user groups. So in Kenya, we have only 3 AWS user groups. One of them is AWS User Group Kenya, which was the first one to be formed. Then we have AWS User Group Pwani. Then we have the AWS AI and ML. So AWS AI and ML is the only AWS that are specialized in machine learning. So about the student builder group. So previously we had only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. We had only 7. We had only 7 AWS Cloud Clubs. But when this year, I think we have many. I think the community has grown. Right now we have various AWS SBGL is now in various universities. Like I can see UON is there. Can see like other universities have enrolled in this program, and that is a good step toward the AWS community. So before first we even look into AWS itself, we first need to understand the basics of IT first. First of all, I expect you to know what is a computer, something like that. What is a server? What is a data center? I expect you to know something like that. So after understanding something like that, so now here comes in the cloud computing. So basically, when you hear the term cloud computing, it means delivering of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So where does actually cloud computing comes in? So in the early days, we had, or we can say the traditional way. The companies, let's say, for example, a certain university wants to has a system that maybe a school system that they want they want their students, you can say they want their students to access, or their employees. So what they did, they had to go and plan. After planning, now they buy some servers. I hope everyone knows what a server is. So they buy some servers. then the networking equipments, then they set up what is called a data center, maybe somewhere. So after setting up the data center, they store that servers in data center. Basically, data center is just a room where servers are placed or where they are kept, something like that. So those in traditional ways, that's how they operated. But now we had some problem. They faced some problems such as we can say a high cost of maintaining the servers. Also, they didn't have that opportunity to scale well. For example, you find when a school system, maybe at that time when they bought the servers, the school system, let's say it supported like 15K students at a time. Now the school students have started performing better. Now it has attracted some people. It has attracted more students. Now we find that the population of the school has grown or has become very large. Now the current system cannot scale to meet that demand. That's why you find the system crashes, making users not to complete what they wanted to do, or it can cause major losses. So that's where AWS came in and saw how those problems were affecting users, like maintaining the servers. Also, hiring employees to maintain the server is not it's not an easy task. Also, the equipment like server go a lot. They're just expensive. Also, about the scalability that I have talked about, uh, where the school cannot scale. For example, so let's say they have an exam, and the students are many, and the system cannot support those students. So how the school will do, they will have to go and plan how they're gonna import the servers. They're gonna set out a budget on how they're gonna import some new servers. As you can see, that time frame, it will take longer before the servers are imported into, let's say, where in the data center. But when it comes to AWS, you just deploy, just scale on demand. As more users come in, also the resources match the demand. So that's how AWS works. Also, let's say another advantage of AWS to traditional ways. So when you see something like when you see when you say like so let's say they have purchased those servers in their local data center. So the servers will be running throughout, like azitumiki, but zina run to. So that is another disadvantage. Meaning the resources will be taking more power, making the electricity cost to go up. Then now AWS, when you are now using AWS as a cloud provider, you can configure things in such a way that they just when there's no traffic, it scales down or something like that. Like it matches the demand. You don't waste resources. So cloud computing is basically delivery of IT resources. These IT resources can be storage, networking, database over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. With pay-as-you-go pricing, meaning you pay only what you use. Have you guys gotten me? I was trying to explain the fundamentals of cloud computing. Thumbs up if you have gotten. Awesome. Awesome. So also I forgot to mention that there will be some good prices at the end. So keep on the call. So let me continue. So in cloud computing, as you can see on site, when it comes on traditional, when you just own your own server, you have control of everything, like applications, the data, the runtime, the operating system, the servers, and all those stuff. Now, in cloud computing, we have what we call the cloud deployment models, uh, which is which we have three, which is infrastructure as a service, then platform as a service, and then software as a service. So infrastructure as a service, this is whereby you, as you can see, you get this is now the on-site, you have access to everything, but in infrastructure as a service, you only have access to application data, runtime, and middleware, and OS. Then those other ones you leave to AWS. So the AWS or the service provider will manage those other things like servers, storage, networking for you. Then we have a platform as a service. For platform as a service, you can this is now you have access only to application and the data. Then the rest you leave to the cloud provider or the service provider. Then you have a software as a service. This is whereby just leave everything to the service provider. A good example of uh, a SaaS is like a Gmail. For you, you just use Gmail every day, but you never mind who will maintain it, who will update the software, something like that. So SaaS is like Gmail. Then infrastructure as a service is like it's like an EC2 instance. So EC2 instance is just like a virtual server in the cloud. So let's now talk about the AWS shared responsibility model. So when it comes to security is the main concern when companies are migrating to cloud. Companies want to know how's the security. Now AWS came up with something called AWS shared responsibility model, in which they share they documented what customers should do and what AWS should do to make uh, to make just the cloud secure. So customer are I think we call it in the cloud So AWS manage the security of the cloud, but you as a customer, you're responsible for the security in the cloud. This means your application and the data is running. But now when it comes to AWS is responsible for the servers, where the physical servers are located, for those networking equipment like updating, something like that. So that is the AWS shared responsibility model. So kitu yenye unafaa ujue hapa is that for customer should focus on the security in the cloud, but for AWS should focus in the security of the cloud. So when now we come to AWS, we have something known as AWS Global Infrastructure. So how is AWS Global Infrastructure? So when we look at AWS Global Infrastructure, we have what is called regions. Regions is made up of availability zones. Then availability zone is made up of, like we said, data centers. Yes, data centers. So let me give you an example, like using a Kenyan map. So let's say let's say AWS has a region in Mombasa. Then AWS again has a region in, let's say, Nairobi. What will be the availability zone then? So we can say the availability zone can be somewhere like, let's say somewhere like Nyali. Then another availability zone can be somewhere like where, like Truda. Or when it comes to Nairobi, you can say availability can be somewhere like in Westlands or Kangemi, somewhere like that. So then we have now when you come to those availability zone, then we have two separate. So what you need to understand here is that we have data centers first. These data centers make availability zones. Then many availability zones, like 3, make up a region. So when you come to, let's say, Mombasa Nyali, we find that we may have 2 data centers in Nyali, but they are not even closer to each other. They are far away to each other, but they're in Nyali. They're in Nyali. They operate using separate power, something like that, so that if certain data center goes down, the other one continues to operate normally. So basically, what you need to know about AWS global infrastructure is that the data centers make up an availability zone. Availability zones make up a region. Is what we are supposed to know about the global infrastructure. So let us look at some of the services in AWS. So AWS has a tons of services. There are many. You can never master all of them at once. So, but there are those services that you must use them, like IAM, S3, ALB, DynamoDB. So so let's start with S3. So S3 is where you can store anything like files, movies, just any type of file. But S3 is now a type of storage which is known as object storage, meaning when you store something like movie, each object is stored separately. It's not like a file system in which we have folders, something. S3 is different. S3, it only stores objects. So there was certain things that I came to learn is that there are no folders in S3. Even when you go to the console, AWS just lies to you that you can create a folder, but those are not folders. Those are just keys. Those folders are just keys. When you want to know about that concept, when you use the AWS S3 API, when you want to upload, let's say some file in S3, you'll notice that you have to pass in the S3 colon then slash slash then the key, the bucket key, then the file. So basically there are no folders in S3. Those folders are just keys. Then we have the IAM. So the IAM basically control access to AWS resources. This IAM is like a security guard of your AWS account. It decides who can access which service and what action can he do. Then we have the ALB. ALB stands for Elastic Load Balancer or Application Load Balancer. So ALB uh, basically balances the traffic between apps. So let's say you have, let's say for example, Facebook. They have different servers for handling various. Let's say they have different servers across the world. So how do you distribute traffic to those servers? They use what we called an elastic load balancer to distribute traffic across those servers. Then we have a DynamoDB, which is a serverless NoSQL database. Then we have an EC2. Mostly when you are interacting with AWS for the first time, you'll be interacting with EC2 mostly. So EC2 is like let's say a virtual server. Then you have a CloudWatch. CloudWatch is it's like ears and eyes and ears of your system. This is where you can find the logs and alerts. Then you have the EKS, manage Kubernetes without the bin. So if you don't know what is a Kubernetes, basically you need to go and research on that. This is so I will not explain about it because this is a beginner session. Then about we have now the Route 53. The term 53 comes from the port of the DNS. We have a DNS which stands for the domain name system, which maps a domain name into IP addresses. So for computers always uses the IP address, so they cannot master the us as humans we cannot master IP addresses. That's why our DNS exists. So when you go to Google, then you type google.com, your browser will send a request to a DNS server. Then a DNS server will send a request back to the browser with the IP addresses, that google.com. Then your browser now will use that IP addresses to communicate directly to the server. So basically, Route 53 is not just a normal DNS, but it is a highly scalable and available DNS as a service in AWS. So that is Route 53. In Route 53, you can buy domain, you can create records like A record, CNAME records, all those. Then you have Lambda. Lambda now uh, lets you just upload your code, then you run the code that runs only when you triggered, then you run the code. You basically upload the code, you choose your runtime, either Python or other languages that AWS support. So Lambda is basically a service that allows you to run code without managing the servers. That's why it's called serverless. AWS will manage the servers for you. Then now we have VPC. VPC stands for Virtual Private Cloud. So this is like a separate network in the cloud. So instead of you connecting the cables to routers to Nini in traditional data centers, you can just do that with a click of a button. What makes that possible is the VPC, which stands for Virtual Private Cloud. Then you have ECS, which is used to run and scale containers. Let me talk a bit about containers. So containers allows you to package your application and only its dependency into one, then deploy somewhere, something like that. So for the ECS, like containers, that's why you'll hear some names like Docker. Those come from ECS, something like that. Then you have the RDS, which is a managed database in the cloud.
I think there's a problem on his side. Let's give him a few minutes. He'll be back. I think he has a network problem. He'll be back. Kindly. Okay. As we wait for him, as we wait for our speaker to come back, yeah, I have something we can do to continue learning, as it's kind of like a game. So you will just type in the chat box whether it's a myth or a fact. Number one, we have the cloud is literally in the sky. So is that a myth or a fact? Oh, Douglas has said it's a myth. It's a fact. Okay. Douglas, the cloud refers, as we said earlier, to data centers with thousands of servers connected through the internet. You just access them through your phone, but they are located somewhere. Just make your work easy. So I think our speaker is back. We'll continue with the questions later, but most of you have gotten that right. It's a myth. Yeah, Crispinas, you can continue.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Sorry for what has happened. I didn't I sikuwa nimecharge my laptop, so stima imepotea na ikazima tu. So I was just finishing about the database. So now after that, let's now talk about now creating AWS account. Let me try to start it. So when you create an AWS, now when you come to create an AWS account, what you require is the credit card. You must have a credit card, and also you must have an email. So creating an AWS account is very simple, but the problems that mostly people face is receiving SMS. Has someone experienced that, receiving SMS? I think that is the only problem when it comes to creating AWS account. So creating AWS account is just as straightforward. Just follow the process. Now the only issue is receiving SMS. For receiving SMS, I will suggest you to use an Airtel number. If you use a Safaricom number, the SMS will delay. You may have to call the support so that you can receive the SMS. But when you use an Airtel number, it will just be instant. You'll receive an SMS instant. I don't know why it has been happening, but just even the way in our work. Then about the credit card. So most people wanasema they don't have banks and such cases. So actually you don't need to have a bank to get a credit card. You can use M-Pesa app. I believe most of you use M-Pesa. You can go to M-Pesa app, then there's a section where you can get the M-Pesa Global, then you can create a card for free. But for me, I don't suggest for you to use that one. I don't suggest at all, because when you mess up with the resources on AWS, they will actually throw a bill to you. And maybe let's say when ni comrade umeacha hapo pesa za tuseme tu za sapa then AWS takes it, unalala njaa. So I suggest don't use M-Pesa Global. Don't use M-Pesa Global, or if you are using M-Pesa Global, use a different number yenye si normal, the one that you use daily for your transaction, because you might get a bill, then they take all the money from your bank account. AWS has no joke when it comes to billing. So what I will suggest about getting credit cards, you can go to Play Store. After going to Play Store, you can search an app called it is called Loop. It is called Loop for NCBA. Just search Loop. Then you will install. After installing, then you'll verify the KYC. You'll upload some pictures of your ID. Then after uploading pictures of your ID, you'll also verify KYC, where you scan your face with the phone. Then you'll wait for like 24 hours or 48. Then you will get access to the Loop account. After now getting access to the Loop account, you will see a section where you can request a card. Then you'll go, you click card. I wish I could show you. You click card, then you request. But now for Loop it's not like M-Pesa. It's not like M-Pesa Global. For Loop, you have to request. Then after requesting, you pay, I think, 120 shillings. Then after that, you'll get a card. Then the difference between M-Pesa Global and what I find to be advantageous when it comes to Loop is that you can limit how much someone can take. Like you can set your limit, like let's say you can set a limit like $1. Any request that wants to take more than $1 will fail. That is the best advantage when it comes to Loop. So to create an AWS account, it's a straightforward. Use an Airtel number. For cards, get it from the Loop app. Get it from the Loop app. then the email. So when you create an AWS account, just a minute, Teams. When now you create an AWS account, first of all, you create your first users, which is called root. Those doing IT can know what root means. Root means someone powerful, meaning root will have access to all your resources, everything in AWS. So that is the root. Let me now join it like this. Just a minute. Setting. So, so let me switch to my PC. Oh, my microphone was muted. Sorry, I was just speaking to myself. Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome, awesome. So to get access to AWS, you just type aws.amazon.com. Here's where you come.
We cannot see your screen.
Then you click. You can see my screen.
Yeah, we can't see your screen.
Let me share again. Mhm. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Awesome. So just go to Google. Okay, so just go to Google, then type AWS console. Then you'll see the first link. Then you click it. So AWS has two price option, which is a free tier and a paid plan. So for free tier, when you create your AWS account for the first time, I think you'll receive $100 in credits. you'll get $100 in credit. Then that's up to 200 over 6 months. Then they will just give you some tasks. As you complete them, you can get up to a maximum of $200. You won't be charged unless you convert to a paid plan. So if you convert to a paid plan, you'll be charged. So I was talking about when you create now an AWS account. When you create now an AWS account, you have you'll create a root user. Root user is a user that has access to all AWS resources. But for security purposes, it is not always recommended to use the root users. So right now, as you can see, this is where you can select the region where you want to deploy your resources. So like now I'm in US East 1. US East 1 is part of the AWS region, global infrastructure or the region. Then here is the account ID, the account name, then some settings there. So if you come to the IAM, right now I'm using an IAM user. I'm not using a root user. So this is how the IAM looks like. IAM is the one that allows you to control access to who should access what or what he can do. So it is not always recommended for you to use root users for daily task. Never use root user for daily task. Immediately when you create an AWS account, first thing you should set up what is called a multi-factor authentication. Don't know if I can show you. So let's just create a user for demonstration. So this is an IAM user. Remember in AWS, we have a root user who has access to everything in your account. Then we have an IAM user. So a root user can create an IAM user, then he can assign some what is called policies. So let's create a sample IAM user like see the taking. Then this user can also be an application. If the user is an application, you may not require to give them an access to AWS console. But if it's a normal user, you can just give him access to AWS console. So to access AWS services, you can access using various ways. One is the AWS console. I'm now logging to the AWS console. This is now the GUI version where you can just click to access the services. But now you can also access AWS in another way called AWS CLI. You can use the AWS CLI where you can just run some commands in your terminal. As you interact with AWS, that's why you can see I'm able to create another IAM user. So I can create an IAM user, then so I can specify a user's identity center. We shall not go into identity center. This is a beginner session. So you can create an IAM user. You can tick it here. Then you enter username. You provide access to AWS console. But if you are creating a user for your application, then there's no necessary for you giving it a permission to console. But for us, if you want to access console, you give that permission. Then you can generate password, something like that. Auto generate. Then you just click next. You can add user to a group or can attach policy directly, or you can just create even without just attach policies direct. So here you search what permission you want to give the user, like administrative access. You can see here, like if you want the user to access only S3, you can just search S3. You can see there are various policies, AWS managed policies for you to access the resources. So if you want this user to access only S3, you can just give him this one. You can just tick here, Amazon S3 file full access. So I may give him administrative access that way. Then you just come next. Then you create a user. Then you'll get the URL, the console, sign in, the username and the password. So that's how you create an IAM user. So now now when you create an IAM user, you need to make sure that you enable multi-factor authentication. Though for me, I have not enabled, specifically for the root user. So you'll come in the IAM dashboard, security credential, then you can set up here multi-factor authentication. This will help to keep your account secure. So you'll use a MFA device such as Google what is called Google Authenticator, something like that. Then you can link whenever you sign in, even if someone knows your password, he may not be able to get in, since he or she must provide the code from the MFA device. So this is how AWS console looks like. You have this is where the region is, the account ID. Then these are the recently accessed services. You can also see there is a search box here where you can search a specific service that you want, like EC2. You can see it there, either S3 there. Any service you want, you can search there, or you can click this toggle, then click all services. Then here you can see they have made it easier. They have categorized all the services, like compute services. You can see these are the compute services. The container services, the storage services like S3, they're there. So this is where they have listed all their services. For machine learning, if you want to train an AI model, you have Amazon SageMaker, Amazon Translate, Amazon Text Extract, something like that. Even you have Amazon Chime. Amazon Chime is used to, if you're building something like a Zoom or Google Meet, you can use the Amazon Chime SDK. These are all the services, even blockchain, satellite, developer tools, media tools. So this is where you access all the services. Also, you have AWS organization. AWS organization, this applies to maybe enterprises where they have many AWS accounts. They can manage them at scale using AWS organization. Then you have the security and identity and compliance section, where you have many services like secret manager, guard duty for threat detection. All these are security services for AWS. File manager, AWS security agent, Cognito. So when you scroll down, you'll see your usage and how the the services that you use and how you are charged there. Then you'll see some of the what is happening in AWS, something like that. Announcement, you can see announcement in the console. So this is how AWS console looks like. This is like a dashboard for you to access the resources. So I think I can stop from there. If you have any question, you can just ask. For today's session, we shall not be diving into deep, but in future, as we organize more sessions, we'll be deep diving in each of the services, building a highly scalable and available applications on AWS. So if you have any question, you can just ask. Also, another thing I forgot to tell you is that when you create an AWS account, never forget to set up an alarm or budget alarm, such that when the cost spikes, you are notified immediately. Never forget to set that. Yeah. So you can ask any question. Anybody? Yes, Paul, you can ask.
I think my question would be, first of all, that was a good session. But
Yes.
I have two questions. The first one being, how frequently are these meets going to be? And also, I sort of got a bit lost in the beginning of setting up. Is there a way that we can be able to do this again live?
Setting up a AWS account.
Yes, setting up the AWS account, like doing the I&M again.
Yeah, we can organize a session. Then can do that. So basically, the main problem that most people face when creating an account is receiving an SMS and mostly the credit card. So for credit card, you can get a loop card. You can download an app from Play Store called the Loop. It is called Loop. Then you can request a card. After requesting a card, then you can use that card and create an account in AWS.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.
Anybody else with any question?
I have a question.
Yes, 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 you can
So
speak.
when you are giving examples
Yes.
of SaaS, software as a service, you said an example is Gmail, and then infrastructure as a service, you gave an example of EC2. What about platform of as a service? May you kindly give an example and may also differentiate the difference between platform as a service and infrastructure as a service? I've not gotten it correctly.
So for platform as a service and infrastructure as a service. So for infrastructure as a service is like a virtual server. It's like an EC2 instance in AWS, like where you only you don't manage the server itself. AWS manages the server for you, but you yourself, you are, let me, don't, let me share my screen and show you that thing. Infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
So infrastructure as a service, let me show an image. So this is the diagram. So when you look at infrastructure as a service, it's like how are you attached to the certain resources, like the networking. When you look for on-site, you have access to everything. When you own your own data center, you have access to everything from networking, storage, database. But when it comes to infrastructure as a service, you only have access to the operating system that you install, the middleware, application data, then the rest, like the virtualization, the servers, the storage, the networking. This one you leave to AWS. But now for the platform as a service, this is now where you have the application and data. You only bring your application and data, but the rest you leave to AWS. I think platform as a service, an example can be a late sale instance that is already pre-configured. You just deploy a WordPress instance, then you just put on your data and application. I think that one. I hope I have answered you.
Yeah, you have. Thank you.
Awesome. Any question? Yes, James. Oh, there are no questions. Or let me check in the chat. So someone is saying, I have enjoyed the class, but let me ask, what is the purpose of having AWS? So the purpose of having AWS is that it helps you scale on demand. I think that is the main purpose. Help you scale on demand. Alafu someone is asking, what is the difference between EC2 and S3? So EC2 is a virtual server, but S3 is like a storage service. EC2 is a server, and S3 is a storage service where you can upload your files. Then as you finish, you can read the so you can fill the survey link building as share in the chat. If you have any question, you can unmute. Yes, Paul.
I had another question.
Yes.
Maybe because I know a bit about AWS, and sometimes when you're talking about cloud, you get
Yes.
into the dilemma of sometimes, like I know someone was asking, where should I go with AWS when I can go to something like Contabo, when I can go to Linode and I can get like a full-on server for about $8 or so that will allow me to, if I'm doing something simple like just hosting my organization's website or hosting a small application, where would the need for AWS come?
So for AWS, for now, you're asking about choosing between AWS and other cloud service provider. So about that, it depends. It depends then on your workload, the workload that you are running. If your workload is not that much complex, you can host it somewhere. But if it is complex, you can use AWS, something like that. So like, for example, if you're hosting your personal portfolio, you can just host it somewhere like GitHub, somewhere there. But for AWS, it's mainly for what? For enterprise customers. Enterprise.
And another
So
question would be,
yes,
in the enterprise space of what,
yeah.
how much of the market share has AWS taken in Kenya? Have many organizations taken up to AWS, or are they still using their own servers? How are they operating?
From the market share, I think when it comes to the global, AWS is the leading in terms of market share. I can see some more companies are now moving to cloud. So I might be sure to say that I think most of the companies in Kenya have started using AWS. Even the government. I've seen some websites, some government websites starting using AWS.
Oh, okay, now that answers my question.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any question? What is the difference between cloud deployment model and cloud service model? Someone to answer that. Fanuel, you'll meet me in the tent. I'll explain to you. So, is there any question as we wind up? So then, let me finish by talking about AWS certification. So, AWS also has certification. We have the foundation certification, foundation level. Then you have the associate level certifications. Then we have professional certifications. Then you have a specialization, speciality. So for foundation, we have a cloud practitioner. In the beginning of the session, there was someone who mentioned he has cloud practitioner. So cloud practitioner is a foundational cert in AWS. Then you have an associate cert like solutions architect associate. Then you have a professional like solution architect professional. Then you have specialty like AWS security specialty. So this certification demonstrates that you understand AWS, but they don't guarantee that you have hands-on on AWS, but they just show the employer that you have an idea. So when you learn AWS, you have to practice a lot, do more labs. It is not learning AWS is not as easy. You have just to keep yourself moving. So I'll suggest if you are new to cloud, you can go to for foundational cert. If you have much experience in AWS, you can go for foundational cert. And these certs are not free. They cost some cash, ranging from 100 USD to 150, up to 300 for specialty. So I recommend for you to get this cert if you are capable, because some of these certs will open doors for you. Because, for example, if you want to work for an AWS partner, you cannot just get in there without an AWS cert. Even if you have projects or hands-on lab on AWS, they'll just need a cert for you. They will just need you to have a cert. So you must have a cert, at least one. I'd recommend to you to have at least one, so that you'll be on safer side when it comes to employment. So about the the learning materials. You'll join our group, then I'll share all the learning materials. I'll compile them, then I'll share all of them, the learning materials, where you can learn AWS for free, where you can get hands-on lab, all those. Unless if someone has any question. So they will think I had mentioned earlier that there will be prizes. Sheila has a question.
Is
Yes,
there
Sheila.
any way that someone can get an exam voucher for free instead of paying $100 for a certification? Is there any way?
Yes, there's a way. First of all, you can get through learning programs like AWS Restart. Currently, the application are open. I'll also share the link. You can apply there. Then after you get in, they will take you through all the cloud foundations. Then after that, I think you'll get a voucher for that. That is for AWS Cloud Practitioner. For the associate level, it is very difficult to get the voucher, but you can get 50% of it. I think currently AWS with Person View is running a promotion for an AWS voucher where you certify for AI practitioner, then you get 100% of voucher for cloud practitioner. So I recommend to check out programs like that. They can help you. Also, for you to get a voucher, you can get through one AWS Academy. If your institution has enrolled in AWS Academy, you can get up to 2 vouchers if your institution has enrolled in AWS Academy. Then 2, you can get from what is called AWS Restart. You can get their voucher. Then the third way you can get a voucher is through promotional, like the one I mentioned, the one that AWS is currently running. Then 4, you can get a voucher through what? Through AWS SBGL. You can get a voucher, but I think it only applies to the team only. Then another way you can get a voucher is from AWS startups. AWS startups usually give a voucher. For those who have enrolled in AWS startup, but the voucher is usually 50% for the AWS startups. Then another way you can get a voucher, I think those ones that I've mentioned. Also, another way you can get a voucher is through when you take an AWS exam and pass, you'll get a 50% off for the next exam. Yeah. So those are the options for you to get a voucher.
Okay, can I chip in a little bit?
Yes.
The one who asked the question, is she a student at TUM?
Which one, Sheila?
Yeah, the one who wanted vouchers.
Sheila?
No. No,
Are you a student at TUM?
no, I'm a student at multimedia.
Oh.
But
I would have helped her,
okay.
but now I can't because she's not a student at TUM. But yeah, you can use the other options. There are many options.
So, so for all of you guys that are in the call right now, I said there will be prizes. So the prizes is that you'll get access to AWS Sandbox, all of you, through the data camp scholarship. So all of you will get data camp premium for 1 year, which cost about 40K per subscription per person. So all of you will get a data camp premium. That is an appreciation for For those who have joined here, all of you will get Datacamp Premium. Datacamp Premium comes with AWS sandboxes, which you can use to practice. So before you leave the call, I'll just let me get that form. Oh, thank you, Michelle. So before you leave the call, how many are you? 25. So let me share a form. Then you will fill your email. Then immediately after the session, you'll get Datacamp Premium. Let me fetch the form.
Okay, as we are
So
continuing.
building, you can take from there.
Okay, thank you. Now, I want to thank you all for coming. We have had a very good interactive session, and I want to answer a question that someone asked earlier. How frequently will you be having these events? As I said earlier, these events will be hosting once every month, and we will be capitalizing on the previous events. So, as we have started now, the next event will be like the next episode of this. We are not going to be jumping through things without any proper plan. We'll be going step by step so that we learn slowly. So you don't have to worry, the events will be every month. So we will learn by the end of the year, you will get that we have a clear understanding, and or at least we are somewhere in regarding to AWS. And for the form that I put there, we also have some small prize. So the first person to show me that you filled out the form, nitakutumia kasapa 100 shillings. So let's see, the first person mwenye amemaliza kufill out the form, you get 100 shillings. If you can prove to us, then you paste your number. So we'll also share the link to the WhatsApp group. Someone asked about how to join the group. I'm going to share the link so that you join us as we continue having more interactive sessions. Yeah, the recording, you'll get it. I'm sharing the link to the group. You join the group, then after we finish compiling the recording, you'll get it.